Welcome everyone to the lesson on buy it now versus auctions. Now, at the end of this or before you started this lesson, you will be familiar with pricing, all of that good stuff. Please refer back to the following lessons if you're a little bit rusty on that. Now, buy it now versus auctions, it's as mentioned, it's a very eBay-esque way of doing things. But at the same time, it's very applicable if you want to get into live streaming, which we highly recommend. If you are unsure about live streaming, refer back to our live streaming videos, our live streaming lessons. Now, let's get started. Buy it now versus auctions. Now, these are the two primary ways of having stock for sale. Now, this is very much separated on eBay. You can either buy it now or auctions. However, if you're streaming, as mentioned, you can have a set price, you can have a set starting price, or you can auction things, for example, like £1 no reserves. Now, if you're a little bit unsure about £1 no reserves it's essentially in live streaming, where you start an item at £1 typically. You can start at whatever price you want, but £1 no reserve is sort of a buzzword when it comes to streaming. Now, with £1 no reserves, you start the item at £1 and you let the market determine the price. Now, there's a lot of pros and cons to this. I won't go into this in too much depth. If you want to learn more about £1 no reserves, we speak about it in depth on our Patreon and in the next courses. Now, buy now versus auctions, let's get started. So these are the two primary listing types. They both have advantages and disadvantages depending on what do you want to achieve within your business, within your reselling journey. Now, we will go a little bit into depth in this lesson about when to use each strategy and how do each of them help maximize profits and in turn also inventory turnover. What are the differences between each? So, to get started with, we are going to get started with buy it now and then move on to auction. So, what are the pros of buy it now, which is essentially a fixed price? For example, this Paul Smith jumper that I'm wearing at the moment, I would potentially list this up for £30 on my whatever platform that we're using, eBay, Depop, Vinted, all of that good stuff. Now, I am set. I want to put this up for £30. Now, obviously, we spoke about offers in the last lesson. Maybe I'd be willing to get 25 for it. So I'll put it for 30. If someone offers me 25 and above, I will accept it. No issues asked. Now, what are the pros of buy it now? Again, this is a very hands-off method of doing things. It leads to instant sales. If someone is happy with your price of £30 or 25 and above, they will buy it straight away, pay you out the door straight away. It's a very simple, it's the majority of methods are used this way and buy it now. Price control. So there's no reliance on unpredictable bidding. Now, what we mean by that is that you have determined your price. You know that this jumper, this Paul Smith jumper that I'm wearing is going to get £25 or above for it. Absolutely. You know that. You have set the price as the seller and you know that you are going to get that above. Now, why is this good? This allows you to determine what profit margins you are going to have. This allows you to pre-calculate the pricing. You know that out of that, let's say I bought this for £5, you know that £20 at least of that is going to be profit. Now, again, as mentioned, predictable revenue. It's better for financial planning, better for you to predict what profits am I going to get from this bale of stock that I purchased. What profits am I going to get from it? You know what the minimum price is, and you should also always calculate things off minimum price because you never know about haggling, etc., as mentioned in the offers section. Again, it attracts certain buyers. Buyers, some buyers may want something urgently. Oh no, I've got to go to a party tomorrow. I really need a tuxedo. I really need a dinner jacket. I really need a Paul Smith jumper for the party tomorrow. It attracts certain buyers that need something urgently. They can't wait until the auction is done. They would rather pay a higher price and make sure that they get the item as soon as possible. Now, these are the pros of buy it now. What are some cons of buy it now? And I understand that potentially might be going quite quick with these lessons. You can slow down these videos and also you can revisit them at any time you want. You have unlimited access to this. Watch it as many times as you like. Our goal with these videos is to make sure that you get information quickly without all of the crap in between and make sure that you get all of the information as fast as possible. And we will be creating more videos in depth in this throughout the channel and as well as any future courses as well. So what are the cons of buy it now? So no competitive bidding. So buyers, you can't leverage buyer competition to drive prices up. For example, let's say this Paul Smith jumper is incredibly in demand for some reason. I don't know, let's say it's winter, or let's say Kim Kardashian or someone has really made this Paul Smith jumper really famous. I highly doubt that. It's not really a style. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that is the case. Now, You have set that price. So if someone is willing to pay £40 for this jumper and they see it for 30, they're like, oh, that's a great deal. They're going to buy it. A buyer will never offer you more to buy the item, right? However, without having auctions, with having buy it now, you may lose out on that competitive pricing. If the market price is suddenly £40 without your knowledge, without you knowing that, you have lost out. You've got an opportunity cost losing out of £10. So that's, you don't have the competitive bidding factor. If you have underpriced an item according to the market, which will happen in your reselling journey, it's all part of it. Again, you will lose out on that opportunity cost. If you are unsure about what opportunity costs are, Google it. It's a very basic economic term. A bit of economics is always useful when you want to build your business. Now, potential undervaluation. With, as mentioned, you are losing out on this opportunity cost and you may sell the item lower than what its actual market value is. And that is unfortunate. However, if you are happy with the profit that you've gained, that may be beneficial. Again, cash flow, you can buy some more items. But again, as a business person, that is up to you to decide. Now, inventory challenges. You may experience at certain times that the market price is sometime, a couple of months down the line, it will not be the same market price. It may have risen in value, may have fallen in value. Now, in this case, let's say the prices are too high. Let's say the actual item, this Paul Smith jumper now, is not worth £30, it's worth £20. If it is priced at £30, the items may not sell quickly. The buyers will be like, okay, that's overpriced. As mentioned in the pricing module, they aren't going to buy it if the price is too high. That's just common sense, right? So again, buyer perception of overpricing. Some buyers may just prefer auctions. Some buyers may prefer the £1 no reserves for deals. Now you are losing out on a large market of people who generally prefer auctions. It is a rising method. A lot of people prefer these £1 no reserves or 50p starts on the auctions. People may prefer that, and that, you're losing out on a market of customers that prefer that method of buying rather than looking at a set price. Now, on the other hand, let's look at auctions now. So what are the pros of auctions? Now, auctions sometimes may have a potential for higher prices. Competitive bidding, for example, let's say Kim Kardashian has said, oh, this Paul Smith jumper is amazing. If the market is there, competitive pricing will push the prices up, and in turn, you will get a better income for the same item that you have paid the same price for. Now, increased engagement. Auctions may generate more excitement, because limited time offers. If you're unsure about what limited time offers and flash sales are, it is essentially a similar concept. If you're unsure about that, go back to our video on that and have a watch of that. Auctions generate excitement and this will lead to more views. Again, what are auctions great for? They're great for rare items. Rare items, you may not know what the market price is for these. Now, a lot of the time, if you're selling something that is incredibly rare, something that hasn't been sold in years or months, the market price may have changed from that. And if you put the wrong price and someone purchases it, you've undersold the item. You can't do anything about that. You've lost out. You've lost out on the opportunity. That's the opportunity cost that we were mentioning before, right? So if there are some rare items, for example, this is why, rare items in places like Sotheby's or these great auction houses that have been doing these things for hundreds of years, they use auctions as a method because there is no set market price for rare items or items that are incredibly valuable. If it hasn't been sold before, there is no market price for it that you can base your prices off before, which we will teach you more about in our pro tip later on in this module. Now, as mentioned, if we go back to the topic at hand, auctions help determine the actual value. If you are unsure about the prices, if you put the auction on, the market will decide the price for you. Now, again, another pro is it fast sales a desirable stock. So again, popular items or items that are rare or valuable, it's the best way of getting those things out of the door because again, you don't have to bother with the market price. The market will determine the price for you via auctions and people putting their bids in. And again, popular items can sell very, very quickly within a couple of days, within 7 days, or if you're at these Sotheby's auctions, within, 10 minutes or so. Now, on the flip side, what are some cons about auctions? So some cons at auctions are risk of low prices. Now, we did mention as a pro that you can have some higher prices for these. But again, for items that are perhaps not as desirable, for example, let's say this Adidas t-shirt or Nike t-shirt that I'm wearing. Again, they are nice items, but again, they are, quite flooded in the market. They're not incredibly desirable in the sense that they're not rare and anything like that. So again, resellers that might be looking for snipes, If you don't know what snipes are, have a Google, have a look at our videos, and have a look at our Patreon. We'll teach you a bit more about that. Unpredictable bidding could result in lower than expected sale value, as mentioned. So again, we did mention as a pro that you could get higher prices, but at the same time, you could also get lower prices as well. Now, another con about auctions is that you have an uncertain final sale price. You can't predict the future. You can't predict that you are going to get high bid. As mentioned, there's no guarantee of a high bid. You don't know whether if you start the item at £1, a lot of the time it may only sell for £1. You will be loss making there. So again, it is very, very uncertain. You cannot predict the price as you can with a buy it now, as we previously mentioned. It is also time consuming. Monitoring. There's a lot more monitoring. If a buyer is putting a bid in, that's a lot more engagement, as mentioned, as a pro with auctions, a lot more engagement. However, with that comes a higher need for customer service. Buyers will ask more or ask more questions about the auction. You will need to respond to them in a timely manner. However, with buy it now, generally speaking, that is a little bit lower. Now, one thing about auctions which we have experienced time and time again, which I'm sure you have experienced as well, is non-paying bidders. There is no incentive or there is no guarantee that a buyer will actually bid. They may bid on it, however, not in all platforms, especially eBay as well, or Tilt, for example. The final bid may not go through if their card gets rejected, or if they've just put a fake card in with no money on just to spite you or just being annoying as a buyer. There is no guarantee that the buyer will bid in the end. And that's really unfortunate, but it's something that you will experience. And again, to deal with these difficulties, we'll teach you a bit more about it in the customer service module of this course. So some winning bidders may not complete the purchase in the end. Now, moving on to choosing the right strategy. What is the right strategy for you? Choosing the right strategy. So in a nutshell, use buy it now for consistent pricing and higher control over your profits. Do you want consistent pricing? Do you value that? Do you want higher control over your profits? And would you be able to take the uncertainty of whether this stock is going to sell quickly or is it going to take months to sell? What are you willing to do? Now, that in a nutshell, those are the pros and cons weighed up by buying out. Now, with auctions, do you want to clear out some old stock? Have you got stock that's been sitting for 6 months to a year and you really want to get rid of it quickly? Use auctions for that. This is great for selling rare, in-demand items as well. So are you a seller that sells rare, in-demand items? For example, are you a jewelry seller potentially? Or are you a seller that sells rare collectible cards or rare collectibles in general, in the clothing market, rare limited edition items, limited edition football shirts, signed football shirts, for example? Again, you can apply this to any niche that you have chosen. And I hope that at this time in this course or within these videos, you have chosen what your niche is. Now, again, selling rare in-demand items, auctions are better for that. And if you want to clear out old stock for a little bit lower that you intended, but get that cash flow in, invest that into stock that you know is going to sell quickly, potentially through buy it nows. Now, as you can see, there's no one-fits-all solution. Now, our suggested approach, as mentioned here, is run auctions every 6-ish months to clear out stale stock. Because again, in this warehouse, if you're spending thousands of pounds a month on your rental costs or thousands of pounds a month in your home costs in, using a bedroom at home to store your stock, if it's not generating you a sale, it is losing out on potential income. You've got the opportunity cost, as mentioned again. So our recommendation is use the buy it now strategy for the vast majority of you guys that are watching these videos, watching this course. For if you're selling run-of-the-mill items, and Paula Smith, it's a nice brand. Levi's that I'm wearing for the jeans, it's a nice brand. However, there's a lot of stock out there, so we recommend buy it nows for that. Now, if they don't sell after 6 months, use auctions to get rid of that stale stock, rather get the income in, get that cash flow, purchase some items that are going to generate you some more income, higher profits. And obviously this depends on your space, depends on how quickly you want to get rid of stock. Are you a home owner? Potentially, if you're a home owner, you aren't so worried about whether that's taking up space in your house. Maybe you want to wait 6 months for a sale to get that higher price. It is up to you. So we can't tell you exactly what you should do, but this is our recommendation. A little bit more. Hopefully you've come to a little bit of a conclusion about what exactly you are happy with. What do you value within your business and what do you prefer? So buy it now is generally the better option for people that want to sell, stock that isn't incredibly rare. If you are a rare seller, you will generally know more about your market coming into these videos, coming into this course, and you will likely choose that option. Now, auctions work really well for surplus stock. For example, if you've got some stock for a really good deal and you just want to flog it off because you've got such a low price for it, Again, that's awesome for that. Again, mention if you're a rare seller, if you sell rare stock, you are probably going to choose auctions anyway. But again, you probably know more about your market coming into this course. Now, our recommendation is using a hybrid strategy, so mixing both, and this can maximize your sales potential. Now, again, as promised, we have got plenty of pro tips coming around in this course. So we've got a really, really, really valuable lesson next coming up on a pro tip on how exactly will you price your items down to the penny. So if you are excited about learning about that from us professionals, we'll see you in the next lesson on our pro tip.